And then I have some questions. I'm going to start on Opus 10 number 7.
Oh, good.
And I don't know where to start with that, so we can.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Did you load this stuff onto OneNote?
Not Opus 10 number 7.
No, but that, I can do that
Yeah.
easily, but the other one, you got the bach?
Yeah, the ball.
Okay.
We've looked at it once before.
Oh, right, okay. That's true. The G minor, yeah. when you play forte, be really mindful of the tone change. It starts to sound kind of sforzato. That you start, like for instance where you have the cadence with those chords in the fugue, that you use the whole arm and follow through so that it more like an organ sound than a kind of drum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Now, I think the most important thing I could bring up now would be these dotted rhythms. Obviously, as we've discussed them before, they didn't write a double dot, so that's why you would have some 16th notes played as 16ths, as 32nds. The thing that's important though is that if you see the dot as an approximation, then it means that the length of that dot can change with the character. And I didn't really hear much of a change at all. I did hear at the very last measure that you softened the dotted rhythms to accommodate the B natural.
Mm-hmm.
But when, for instance, you have something like in measure, let's see, where it goes up into E flat, measure 11 and 12, there is a softening of the affect. It becomes less dramatic and sharp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's gone up into the 6th degree there, and it's somehow, exploring that part of the key changes the character a little bit. So then it would be quite natural for those dotted rhythms to be a little more rounded and not quite as rigid or forceful as if you're in the tonic in G minor. It can even depend on the interval. That wider intervals might need a little bit more time, a little more spaciousness to hear them. So that was something that it seems that you've found a uniform way of treating the dot. And I think that you have to be a little more imaginative with that. It's not quite so black and white. You use it to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, allow the dot to increase the agitato or the drama, or decrease it accordingly, depending on what it is that needs to be said at that moment. And then the other thing, just a small thing, but I had put a question mark before about the mordent, the inverted mordent. I'm beginning to have doubts about that. Why? Because even though the rule was that if the previous note is the auxiliary note, in other words, if you have the E flat here, then you wouldn't repeat the E flat. However, it starts to sound like, it starts sounding like, which I suppose it can, but what would happen? It would just widen that dot a little bit more and pronounce it more, which is the purpose of the embellishment there. I think. Maybe just play it as 4 notes, but not to try to separate it. As one gesture, I guess so. I'd probably told you to play it staccato. That doesn't really work. Maybe just as one unit of 4 notes. Have you heard some recordings of harpsichordists?
Oh, not harpsichord.
Only harpsichordists. Don't listen to the pianists because they don't know what they're doing most of the time. Of course, Andras Schiff can be respected, you know, but really it's the harpsichordists that spend their whole life doing this stuff.
Okay.
You know, there was the first really sort of historical harpsichordist. Wanda Landowska was not, but then you had Leonhardt, Gustav Leonhardt, sort of founded the whole movement towards historical authenticity. Trevor Pinnock came from another generation. Kenneth Gilbert. Those are all really important harpsichordists. Probably still alive, those. But and then there was like Igor Kipnis, and I'm sure there are a lot of younger ones that are even more up to date with stuff. But do listen and see what they're doing. All right, should we start it? Yeah. So even when you have look, if we got rid of the dot, that's one gesture. So instead of just, how about that somehow the D is still, it still leads into the E flat. What if there was a little more time, because the interval is wider, it's a tritone. And then how about just for don't speed up the trill too much. Yeah, I do think that works actually, because it's more profound when you don't play the ornament too fast. Da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum. Yes, maybe so. You see, doesn't have to be so pronounced, right? Right? It just depends on where you want to show it. There are slight variations in the speed of them. Try second line. More intense. Yes, now there's a change. But that's two groups. Imagine. It's not finished on the G, you know? Yeah. It's such a... When you start bringing back the dynamic to something that's a little more in the mezzo piano, mezzo forte range, then, you know, this can be a little bit more more lyrical in a way, right? To contrast to and then if you keep going here, crescendo, and then yeah, you can pronounce the B flat a little bit, right, and then back off, right? I think that 1-6-4 chord, this gets a little bit more. You sort of backed off too early, and then you had nowhere to go. Now that backs off. That's your cadence. Once you and now all this is a little bit less pronounced, right? Try it again. You see, it's still a dotted rhythm, but it's just not quite. Right? We need variety because it's the 2 pages of this where you don't have variety, and if you don't hear the unit as a group of 4 notes but as a group of 2, then that's really making it disjunct. I think you've got to see at least units. That might be a way of practicing. Take out the dots and just right? Try it once. I'm curious how that would affect it. But the same character. Wom, tin, ti, ta, ti, ta, 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 tin. Yeah, you see Nita. I'm sorry, I was thinking another place. Okay, but that's nice, you know? It's like you start to hear it a little bit differently. Then the groups of 4 are very straightforward. You hear how they need to belong as units of 4. But when you do the dotted rhythms, it's not that obvious. Mm-hmm. Now, with that, play for me from D minor now, from measure 9, but with the dotted rhythm. Yeah, the E wasn't beautiful. Yeah, there's a strain on there. There's a struggle to get up to the E, right? It's very expressive. That's it. That's it. Keep it going to there and to there. Then then you can back off. I think you can back off. You know, you can probably relax more and spread out a little bit, right? Yeah, I don't know if that was the best idea that I took you more on a crescendo too early, maybe. But there was something in the sequence of this from and then that somehow I hear those three as building. I don't think it just stays the same, that's for sure. Try for measure 13. Maybe a long one. Good, you know. Maybe less. That from this and this become important, right? So possibly, right? You get the idea behind it. I mean, I don't mind if you go this way or that way with certain things, but know what you can do, that those dotted rhythms need to be adjustable. Now, I didn't get the set downbeat. This, right? That's got to be there. You've got to show it to your audience, and it will help you feel it as a second beat as well. And I have marked in the second measure that you have to show that downbeat. It's not to mean that it's a diminuendo, right? So be careful, because in some ways, yum, pum, pim, pum, both 1 and 2 are strong, right? So I particularly noticed it when the tim, pum, ya, pum, tim, pum. If there's a little diminuendo, it's okay, but the length of the articulation is the same. Tom, pom, they're both tenuto, I think. Right? Try it again. Pom, 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 pom. Don't rush second beat. Tom, pom, bim, pom, pom, bim, yum, pom, 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 yum, pom, pom, yum, pom, let it have more life in the 16. Right? There's a life in the articulation there. Maybe from the entrance of in that counter, right? It seems to be late somehow. You see, if it were Mozart, it rounds off. But there's something angular about Bach. It's all rhythm and articulation. Really has that rhythmic fun, you know? Play with that a little. Do it again. I need a articulating. That's right. So in a way, the material of the counter subject is such an important part of this. It's not like sort of theme and accompaniment. The counter subject is really just as important as the subject. They just show different, they're just different material, right? But they have to come through the textures almost with a kind of equality, that they're doing what they do best. It's like different parts of a body that do different things. You know, one thing is, you know, seeing, and another's hearing, another's feeling, another's, you know, that the different, you've got a counter subject, you probably have with that third voice another counter subject that comes in as well. So all those things have their own little functions, and they all need to be heard. A lot of times I was hearing top voice when the subject was in the middle voice. So for instance, you need to thin out just a little bit. Where was that? Yeah, it was here in measure 21, 20, 21. Somehow that there, the top of the right got too loud, right? A similar thing was measured 28 to 29, right? You've got I'm not contradicting myself where I say you need to bring out the subject more, because what you were doing is bringing out the counter subject more than the subject, because the subject was in the middle voice. For that to all sound equalized, you have to actually give more to the middle voice. Right, let's go back. Once again, beginning. I'm sorry, that was sort of just a little more yodadadum. Yeah. That's less. Isn't that a little bit of a, you got two measures or three measures or four measures of a episode, right? It's a little bridge to take you into the next entrance. So when you right, it's a little cadence, and then finally then that comes out. Okay. I think that's sort of how I hear it. I don't know. I would love for you to play this for Angela Hewitt again, and see what she thinks about these things. But as I understand it, episodes are sort of not primary. Once there's a little break from subject and counter subject, then it's just sort of playing around with the materials to bridge to the next place. So they don't usually have as much, they sequence and they just sort of, their role is more passing. That's how I hear it. Try it. Yeah, that's too low. Just a little lighter, That's another one. Yeah, see, I don't hear the subject there, right? So that's got to be another little episodic thing. So that lightens up. Where is that?
25.
Yeah, 25. Can you enjoy there's something well, I don't know why I hear that as being almost like a little so it's like right right it's sort of there. No, they're not equal. The left hand has an internal kind of melody. Bum 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 bum. This is bum 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 bum. This is probably a little less. It's just and then yum bum bum yum bum bum bum. Right. Yeah, that should at some point that has to lighten up as well. Of course, it's very interesting how but within reason, because this is not motivic at that point. From 40 on, it's generally we want to feel the passage. Sorry, but I understand. Right hand has this, but the left hand is. It's just the beginning of it that needs to somehow have an articulation, so it doesn't round off and become sort of right. Maybe this. Think about how this. How to get to that. Is it going to be abrupt or something that prepares it? Because you're sort of rising. You might want to sort of build into that, like it's handing it over to that. That's another way of doing it, rather than just pronouncing it suddenly. wonder if it's too much pedal. I like that you're softening the articulations, but it's starting to sound legato. It's maybe portato or poco non legato, right? You know, little separations. That's very nice, I think. Growing. You've got to work that rhythmically. I don't think you can just stop. Probably you have to do it more sort of mathematically. Just slightly. Yum pa yum and yeah yum yum. Not staccato yum. You could pedal yum. You can pedal each one. Yeah. Bum. I hear that left hand coming in there. We're used to being higher. Right? That's richer. It needs to come out more, I think. From here. Almost. Yeah, just think of it tenuto marcate. Yes, and it arrives. What if instead of just loud here, that you somehow build that? Not too weak, you know? Yeah, probably. That it's, you know, keeping its. It would be one thing like the first one. I see it sort of, you know, in the prelude. It's a little different because it's somehow getting higher and higher and just. I can see that somehow, but this one doesn't really do the same thing. It does go to the major, but there's something. It's more final, you know? Yeah. Good. You wanted to look at 10 number 7, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me bring over a copy.
Yeah, I haven't really started. I looked at some of the Cortot exercises.
Good. Can't go wrong with Cortot. So I'm going to just bring over something I worked with another student here. So it has a few marks in it, but never mind. The marks will be useful to you as well, I think. So. So what did Cortot say to do?
So his exercises are a lot of like for example, and it's like very legato in the key, which is good, but I feel like when it gets faster, you can't really play legato, right? Or is it more
Close.
consistent?
Yeah, I mean, it's the repeated notes. So, but the thing is, it's like... Right, so what I suggested here was sort of, you've got 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and you want to keep that very close, and you want it to be as legato as possible, right? So what you need is a way of using your hand, and it's very good because you tend to sort of have this bridge stuck. So you want to loosen that up, lean a little bit to the right. See, I'm leaning, tilting a little bit. So the difficulty with the right hand, I think, is getting here with those sixths. This is not hard to play legato. It's hard to do that. And you don't want accents. That's why sort of finding a way to gently ease into those jumps. Try it once, very slowly. If you come out, then come back in on the thumb. So you... yes, very good. And of course, it's more important to keep the top of the right hand more legato than 1 and 2, because they're... But it doesn't mean that you can't try to keep it close. You see, it's almost legato, right? So just try, and you can practice or just 5 notes. Yes, and the other thing is to avoid this. You want to, if you're doing this, your wrist is not working. Then you're going in for the elbow to do all that work. I've seen it so many times, and it sounds horrible. It sounds marcato. So the idea is to find a place on the key that when the thumb comes in, the wrist adapts the position. This takes it out, that puts it back. But you see, the elbow is pretty much in one position. The other thing I feel is that there's a high wrist. It's natural to elevate the wrist in places like this. Right? It's an unusual kind of figure. You wouldn't usually do that. But I do think it helps. It's a little bit of this, where you also have a slightly elevated wrist and tilting to the right. So here it's also a bit of you just need to experiment with different positions. That looks very nice if you can practice it that way, and don't try to play it too fast for now.
Okay.
Just get used to the there are some very difficult little places that we should probably just look at. Here. Can you play some of that for me? A little bit under tempo.
Where is that?
It's measure 24. Those little leaps, getting the finger in position, you have to get around this. So you need a little bit of time. Might consider going in instead of out, sort of pushing it in a little bit this way. Coming out, I'm afraid, because you've got to get your thumb up where it doesn't usually have to go. You see, that creates a bit of a problem having to move in further. This should be straightforward. Can you do that one? Yeah. Yes, that's no problem. There's another place that's a little bit of a challenge of the coda. Here, maybe. That's probably not too hard, actually. Here, just look at that.
Mm-hmm. He suggested 3-1, 3-1, 5-1 instead of 4-2.
I think with a big hand, 4-2 is fine, isn't it? Let's see. I wouldn't ever do 1-1. You know, if your hand's big enough to do it. Yeah. Absolutely. 2-4 all the time. There's a little bit of a difficulty then in the last little thing on the way up. Right, so when you've got a series of thirds and a fourth, right, that's alternating. So one way to think about that is to take a little time for the fourth, right? It should make it a little bit easier. It's also the problem that you've got, this is a fifth and these are sixth, but fortunately it happens at the same time. The change to the sixth is, and the jump of the fourth is with the fifth. So I think it makes sense. Pause. Right? Just a little bit different way of sort of thinking of the groupings. And one pedal, of course, that whole thing, right? Yeah, I mean, just you can practice just the top part, just separate that out, or you can just take, you know, without the repeated note, or then you could probably just, you know, I don't know, or is there a way to, what else could you do? You can sort of make things. Taking it apart and then putting it back together after you've done the doing it. Probably not that. You could. They all do different things. They attack different problems. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah. I think, actually, I feel like, I might be wrong, but I feel like a lot of people don't play the etudes, like, correctly.
No, they don't. They don't do a lot of it. When I was in Darmstadt, and I listened to people going, and they were going, they were just playing like Liszt. They just put the pedal down, but he wrote, you've got to, you're supposed to play that legato, which means you can't play as powerfully, but you shouldn't play with as much pedal, because he's wanting, the whole exercise is about I can't do it very well myself, but I can see when somebody's just cheating.
Yeah.
That's just cheating. And to me, I can't mark that very highly when they play it like like list, or like it's not an etude, like it's just a piece of music that doesn't have any purpose. There are specific purposes for these etudes.
Yeah.
That's why they're called etudes, because they want to accomplish a particular problem.
Even like this one, like I was having trouble, and then a lot of people just play like really high fingers. They just try to
Yeah.
like force their way through it. You know, they're
No,
like,
no,
they're,
and we spoke about it.
yeah, it's supposed to.
It's all about creeping along. It's really, it's making legato leggero. If you just sort of, that's like a jazz piece. That's not what the piece is about. It's supposed to develop legato.
Yeah, even this one, I was looking around. A lot of people play it just very detached. Like,
Exactly. It's all like no legato.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about the wrists, I think. It's not really
That's right.
the fingers trying to.
So I think it'd be really good actually just keep learning these things, and as long as we can discover what is the purpose of the exercise.
Okay.
You know, I think Courteau understood that, and I think the exercises you put there are useful.
Yeah.
But there's also Michałowski had exercises as well. He was a student of Mikuli, who was a student of Chopin. And I don't think did I show you his exercises for all the etudes? They're in the library in Warsaw, and I printed some of them out. Do I have them in my? I may have them here. If not, I'm sure I can find it again. They're not bad. They're different from Courteau's, but they're also useful. Let's see if it's in. I think I may have put it in here. Yep, but not all of them probably. You know, they're not properly published. I mean, they were just like pictures taken at the library. So that's for the A flat, I think. For Opus 25 number 1. Okay, 25 number 6. What's that one? That's the same. That's the same as the 25 number 1. That's a different etude. That's a very good etude, actually. Very difficult. No. So it's from this group. I have it. Let me see. Let's search. No, not there. Ah. What have I got? No. So it's in OneDrive. No. Where's my, how do I get to my OneDrive? Oh, I know. Right there. Yeah, and then OneDrive is there, I think, isn't it? It's not Michałowski. No. I'll have to look for it. Okay, do you want to play your, is your Bach memorized?
Kind of memorized.
You can try it in studio class tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. Or maybe next week. I want to work on it a little
You
more.
keep putting it off. You did play once in studio class, right?
Not this semester.
No?
Yeah,
What's
but I've been
that?
okay, but I've been working on.
I I would love for you
somebody
to
with
play in
like this.
form before the end of the semester.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and to do that, you have to play in studio class
Mm-hmm.
to have that experience at least once.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for you to play at least once a semester in form,
Yeah.
so that you have a goal that you're working for. Because I'm not asking you to do full recitals every year or every semester.
Yeah.
So. All right, we'll just. I'll look for this thing. I think it might be in my emails from Lebrovska. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. If I find it, I'll put it on my note for you. Okay,
Okay.
see you later.